Yeah. Right, so I'm going to live code my way all the way through this. So this is EYG, a language and editor, and a couple of other things that I've built. But in 7 minutes, I really just kind of want to talk to you about the editor and then effects, which are slightly related to how the editor is useful. So this is a structured editor. And we have, single key presses for stuff like, so if I want an assignment, I press E and I go, so X, and we're like, okay, this is the code. A number would have, 10. And then if we want to use it, we press V, it knows all the variables in scope. So here's a function that produces 10, okay? And we get the value all the time. We can do things like we have some built-ins. So we have int add, call this with number 1. Okay, got a selection of functions. So the built-ins are the lowest level primitives, but we can also reference libraries. So this is another thing I might slightly skip over. So if we have a standard library, we insert a hash value, so it should be this one. And then it's okay, that should load up. And actually, if we press enter here, so it is a shell, although it's live updating all the way you go through. We can now see, if we use standard lib, that we have information about what type a standard library has. So press G to get all the fields on it as a string. Yeah, let's get another one. Upper, show that this is all doing what we want. Hello. Cool, and move on. All right, so this is kind of your functional language. There's nothing necessarily exciting in the core language. Where it gets more interesting is effects. So effects are how you talk to the outside world. And this is a web environment. So we have a variety of effects which are kind of unique to the web, including these like OAuth integrations. So in this space, there's an OAuth app set up with these services, so you can do things like list your domains from DNS Simple. But we're going to start with some simpler ones. So if we start with prompt. Okay, so we prompt and we say, what's your name? And so now we're not getting the live updates all the time. So as soon as there's an effect, you don't get the live value all the time because this effect might be launch the missiles or other terrible things. So we have to explicitly run this. We run this and I say, I'm Peter. And we go, okay, it's Peter. So we can keep editing before we commit this. So let's make this the name. Actually, we'll skip around. We'll run this, say Peter again, and we'll run through. So now the name is in scope, okay? So one of the things that's important for running this in a shell is that types are, they're shrunk as we move forward. So you'll notice, or maybe, well, I'm going to tell you in case you haven't. But yeah, the type of name is now just OK or string. There's no error case, even though if you were to run the prompt, this is something that can return a string OK or an error, but the name has already been resolved. OK, so let's get the name. So, OK, we've got effects, stuff out, stuff in. So EYG is meant to be kind of useful. I have this, these predictable and useful. So the effects make it predictable, and the hashes, same program, same result. Useful is the idea of extending where you can run it. So one of the built-ins we have is we have this built-in called capture. So if we call this with the variable name, we start getting the AST of the source program. So even though this was a runtime value and it came from the outside, we can turn it back into valid source code. We can capture functions as well. So we're going to call this one client. We'll have a function which takes nothing. It returns the name. And then we go down here and we say, OK, let's, obviously we need to delete that. Delete variable client. OK, so this AST is not very, it's not very readable. So let's turn it into something slightly more useful. Let's change this to JavaScript. Because once we have some source code, we can do stuff with it. So now we have some JavaScript code, which is making a program where parts of the program only came from runtime. So stuff in the environment that's not needed, like standard library, is not included. We need to shrink this name down to something useful. So if we include the name here, I said that this is only ever going to have a value because we're already OK. So if we go text, v, text. OK, so we now have simple program. So we're going to keep rolling with this client program. So what happens if, in this client program, we want to perform an alert effect. Okay. So now this JavaScript is kind of a type-directed transformation of effects into JavaScript land. So the thing that you'll recognize down here is we have this, what is the program, like what makes sense. So this, we can change this variable to make something else. So we're going to ignore this, ignore, but we try to keep track of this down at the bottom. So the program is vaguely recognizable. And if we go through this and we go, down equals code. So if we say script, so how long we got? A minute, we can do this. So standard library, get string, get concat. Okay, call this with a list. We want 3 things in here. This one is going to be script. This one's going to be the code. This one's going to be close the script. Okay. Keep going down. So now we have an effect uniquely available in the browser, which is download. So this, we need to give it a name. So let's make it, what do we add? So like live.html. Make the content, take the variable, which is the script. This should be an error. So I think we should need to do this one. String to binary. Okay. Right, here we go. We've got live HTML. Click on this one. We've got my name over here. So yeah, so this is the kind of key idea of extending one program over multiple places. The whole language is built to make an efficient runtime to do closure serialization, which is what you need behind this. This is EYG.run, but I don't think I've connected the conference Wi-Fi, so that won't show you anything. But yeah, EYG.run if you want to find out more or talk to me, and thank you.